Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no?
In July, the Trump administration decided to get rid of PBS and CBB, two great networks that brought us good educational kids shows like Arthur, Reading Rainbow, Between the Lions, and decided to replace them with PragerU. PragerU is a highly conservative media company founded by these two men right here. That same media company put out a cartoon where Christopher Columbus, a man known for offing thousands of Indians and other atrocities so bad that his own government arrested him, said that slaves would have rather been slaves than to be killed. Not only did they try to justify slavery, but it is a well-known fact that slaves that knew what they were going to in America would jump off the boat and themselves because they would rather have been dead than be a slave. It gets worse the more he talks.
Have you ever watched something and you could not believe you were watching it, and you can't believe, or you could not even believe that your ears were listening to that? Yeah, that's exactly what I just looked at. In the process, when we say that this man is trying to whitewash the history again, he's at it again. They released an animation that is literally romanticizing slavery. And they're literally downplaying it to the core. You know they have been doing it, right? But it's not been so loud. It is becoming more evident and more clear by the actions he's taking, scrapping off all the historical events that actually speak volumes to the Black community. And now they want this animation, series to be played for every child in the school system in the United States of America. My God. Welcome back to the channel, my people. I do hope that from wherever you all are watching this from, you are doing all right, and hopefully God has protected you and preserved you very well. Thank you to all of you that keep coming back and supporting me. Thank you to my members as well that support this channel. I do appreciate all of you. This episode, I don't have to say so much. We have to look at the series they want to introduce. And I want us to look at some of the reactions of Black people in this, and some other people. We'll come back and talk about it. Just do me a favor, like it, share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll be back.
PragerU is being called this administration's PBS replacement. But watch how these animated lessons justify harm to Native Americans, downplay the horrors of slavery, and radicalize protesters.
And the native people were far from peaceful.
But you just said the Taino were peaceful.
They pretty much are. But there are other tribes who aren't. Caribs, who are vicious, warring cannibals.
Cannibals? Like they
Eat people, see.
Whoa.
Right? Hey, all the things that are bad in the world I come from, jealousy, lying, murder, war, it all exists in the land I just found too. But in Europe we draw the line at things like eating people and human sacrifice.
Yeah, but what about slavery? You didn't deny that.
Deny? No. Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed.
Columbus emphasizes cannibalism and human sacrifice and says the choice is between slavery or death. Notice what's missing? Freedom. Leave people alone.
How does it work?
Most wretchedly, people who've been forced into slavery by tribes in Africa are then sold to merchants from Great Britain and other countries.
William Wilberforce says Africans sold Africans. True, but here it's used as a deflection, shifting blame. Wording matters.
And I hate slavery too, but it's been a reality everywhere in the world. And even now in 1910, it's still happening in other countries. Despite our nation not always living up to our declaration that all men are created equal, I am still so proud and thankful to be an American.
Even though you were a slave?
Exactly, because I was, and not anymore.
We're really sorry that you have to deal with segregation and racism.
Your sympathy is nice, Layla, but know that you have nothing to be sorry about. You and Leo have done nothing wrong, and have indeed been quite respectful. Future generations are never responsible for the sins of the past.
Booker T. Washington repeats the slavery happened everywhere theme, then quickly pivots into patriotism. The critique vanishes into pride.
Why is everyone so angry? Are they burning a car?
Slavery has existed everywhere in the world for thousands of years. Slavery was part of life all over the world. It was America that began the conversation to end it. Have you kids heard of William Lloyd Garrison?
No.
Nope.
He's an abolitionist like me, and he and I used to be friends, but we aren't any longer. We don't agree how to solve problems. William refuses all compromises, demands immediate change, and if he doesn't get what he wants, he likes to set things on fire.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds like you know the type.
Yeah, we've got that type in our time.
So, you're trying to work for change inside of the American system.
Precisely, Layla. Our system is wonderful.
And people like Garrison don't just want slavery abolished, but the whole American system?
That seems silly.
Well, your way is definitely better. It's the right way to get change. In our time, you're considered an American hero, and that other guy isn't really known.
Frederick Douglass again says slavery happened worldwide. But this time, abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison is branded a radical, like modern protesters. The kids dismiss him as irrelevant. Across the clips, the pattern repeats. Harm justified as a lesser evil, blame shifted elsewhere, critics labeled as dangerous, and pride layered on top. Ask yourself, how does repeating slavery happened everywhere reshape the story? What happens when passionate voices are written off as unnecessary? And who benefits from framing protest as dangerous?
They want to play this line in every classroom in America. Being a slave is better than being... They want every student in America to hear that line. Being a slave is better than being... And that's not just a line, that's an argument. That's an argument with two options in it. Two options. I want you to listen to that line again. Being a slave is better than being killed. I want you to think through what is being offered to our children in that line. Being a slave is better than being killed. What is missing from that? What is missing from that argument? What is missing from that equation? Freedom. Freedom. Liberty. Justice. The American way. Being a slave is better than being... They want to hand every single kid in America an iPad and have them sit in their class and watch a cartoon of Christopher Columbus tell our children that slavery is fine as long as you aren't killed. But even better, it's better to be a slave than it is to be murdered. I have a much shorter version of this line that actually fulfills what Americans should believe. Instead of saying being a slave is better than being killed, how about give me liberty or give me death? What happened to that?
Being taken as a slave is better than being... No, I don't see the problem.
That's educational programming for kids from unaccredited conservative nonprofit PragerU, which is partnering with the White House right after deep funding cuts to PBS. Already, PragerU videos are approved for use in classrooms across several states, though most districts haven't implemented them, likely because the lessons are widely criticized for being factually inaccurate. The material promotes a whitewashed history that minimizes and justifies slavery, pushes anti-LGBTQ+ and anti-diversity messaging, denies climate change, and is filled with misinformation and propaganda favoring right-wing ideology. But that makes sense since PragerU was founded by suspected white supremacist Dennis Prager, who complained about not being able to say the N-word in 2020. This is an example of their propaganda, which teaches that abolitionist and former enslaved person Frederick Douglass would have agreed with America's choice to prioritize white supremacy over ending slavery.
I'm certainly not okay with slavery, but the Founding Fathers made a compromise to achieve something great.
In June, the White House introduced PragerU as a new educational partner during the launch of its Founders Museum exhibit, where the org presented the nation's origin story. In one video at the exhibit, an AI John Adams borrowed Ben Shapiro's famous phrase,
"Facts do not care about our feelings,"
which is ironic since conservatives have a lot of big feelings about facts. That's why they're trying to hide them. We don't know exactly what this partnership will look like, but the right accuses the left of indoctrinating students to justify their actual indoctrination, which is really nationalist mythology with no basis in truth.
They're not trying to just revise history at the Smithsonian, they're trying to whitewash history everywhere, including in your kids' classrooms. See, Prager University is a far right-wing ideological educational platform that was hired to create the Founding Fathers exhibit at the White House. You know, to give history about the Founding Fathers. Like that the Founding Fathers were abolitionists who believed that slavery was evil and wrong, and the only problem with that nice bedtime story is reality. Not only did 41 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence own slaves themselves, they also only counted enslaved persons as 3/5 of a person. They also tucked the slave trade clause and the fugitive slave clause right there into the Constitution. But it's not just at the White House. These lies are already being taught to children in schools in Florida, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arizona, Montana, and New Hampshire. In a year that the Trump administration cut all the funding from PBS, they hired this organization to teach kids.
Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no?
Being a slave is better than being killed, no? You becoming my slave is better than me, you, isn't it?
There were mothers that were throwing their own babies off boats into the water instead of becoming slaves for the rest of their lives. And people were like voluntarily choosing to get boiled alive as opposed to being a slave. I really did not think the descendants into madness would be this fast-paced, but with the way that he's aligned himself, Trump has aligned himself in the office with all these people that agree with the things that he's pushing, I should have known. I should have known. I think this is one of the most diabolical things they've done, though, is getting rid of PBS, but still funding PragerU.
This presidency will cause ripple effects that we have never seen before. Well, we've seen with one other guy, Ronald Reagan. That's it. That's the only guy that's been doing things to this level. I hope you guys are ready.
Can there be slavery in America when the founding fathers said that all men are created equal?
Yeah, and I've heard that some of those founding fathers owned slaves. What about that?
Children, our founding fathers knew that slavery was evil and wrong, and they knew that it would do terrible harm to the nation. They wanted it to end, but their first priority was getting all 13 colonies to unite as one country. The southern colonies were dependent on slave labor, and they wouldn't have joined a union that had banned it.
Are you okay with that?
I'm certainly not okay with slavery, but the founding fathers made a compromise to achieve something great, the making of the United States.
That is racist, right-wing PragerU using a white man to voice Frederick Douglass so that he can justify slavery and racism. In Florida, is going to allow that racist organization to indoctrinate kids in school.
That was me a few years ago. This video was made in 2023, warning people about what conservatives were trying to do, how they were going to put this propaganda, this revised history into our schools. And as soon as they got into the presidency, that's what they're doing. Every terrible thing that you say they're going to do, they are going to do. It wasn't hard to predict at all. Y'all have a good one. Yeah, it's insane. The thing is, that was a whole white conservative man who was portraying Frederick Douglass defending slavery. And PragerU knew that they were absolutely wrong, so they decided not to show who that white man was that was portraying Frederick Douglass defending slavery. And because conservatism is against information, against learning, for continuing oppression, they did not suggest that the kids actually go read quotes from Frederick Douglass, because if they did, they would see how he actually felt about the forefathers. Like when he was talking about Independence Day and said, "I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us." Or his quote when it came to slavery and Christianity, when he said, "I prayed for 20 years but received no answer until I prayed with my legs," meaning he realized that praying to God was not going to free him. So he booked it. And he has many more quotes that would be in direct opposition of how conservatives and PragerU and white supremacists portray him. And that's the kind of education they want. The education where you do not go and look for things, where you just keep on saying things that reinforce your racist bias. Y'all have a good one.
Why are many young black males in prison? The reason is too painful for the left to acknowledge, and therefore it is politically incorrect to say it. Young black males commit a disproportionate amount of violent crime. Why are many young black males in prison?
Because you and your grandparents were racist. What? Easy. That's Dennis something, whatever his name is. He's like the creator and the funder of PragerU. Teachers, please make sure that you click "Don't show this channel" or hide this channel on your YouTubes, because they'll give you videos that look really child friendly. That guy is recorded saying, "Yes, we're trying to indoctrinate your students, your kids." And I'm going to show a clip of one of the videos from PragerU. And basically, it's trying to indoctrinate students to not be radical. And it's funny because it's trying to get them to not use rights that they have in the Constitution. It's using the Constitution to try to, it's promoting the Constitution, it's propaganda for the Constitution, and it's trying to limit the way they use their rights in the Constitution. Like, I'll show it to you about how they, that's right, they had Columbus trying to justify everything he did to the indigenous people, the whole genocide. Like, what is up with people? What's up with him and some of his relatives and genocide? Wow.
You're trying to work for change inside of the American system.
Precisely, Layla. Our system is wonderful, and the Constitution is a glorious liberty document. We just need to convince enough Americans to be true to it.
And people like Garrison don't just want slavery abolished, but the whole American system.
You are correct. His approach is called radical. That means a complete fundamental change of everything.
That seems silly. There's so
I couldn't find the voice actor, but how much money I want to put that the voice actor on that was white, trying to sound black. At any rate, yeah. So basically, please, teachers, we're not trying to indoctrinate the children. And I didn't thoroughly vet this, but the word of the White House attempting to work with PragerU, that is horrifying, because I've been teaching. I got more than 10 years in education, and that's the opposite of education. And it's crazy. They're trying to limit their rights. I mean, our rights have already been limited as Black people or low socioeconomic individuals, or if you're a combination of both like I am. I don't know, y'all. Teachers, be safe.
You know how people right now say the country's going backwards? I'm going to give you a demonstration of that. I'm not going to talk about economics in that kind of way, but I'm going to talk to you about enslavement was about 250 years, right? From 1619 to 1865 or thereabout, maybe not in Texas. Okay, so that's about 250 years, 246, 250 years. Jim Crow and segregation followed that. That was 100 years. So really, a lot of people like to say, you know, we were enslaved for 350 years because Jim Crow and segregation was slavery about 90% of enslavement. It was about 90%. Now that 90% declined as you get closer to 1965 when the Civil Rights passage was passed, when civil rights laws were passed. So you got 250 years, you got another 100 years, you got the civil rights laws from 1965 to right now. That's only 60 years. I'm 61. I was born in 64. I was born 1 year before the civil rights laws were passed. So I was born in that time of Jim Crow and segregation, right? The tail end of it, but those laws were passed in 1965. So here we are in 2025. We can effectively say that the era of civil rights is over. It was a 60-year period. It was only 60 years that the majority of white people, not all, I see you, you're one of the good ones, I see you, not all. It was only 60 years that white people were able to accept black people having a type of freedom that allowed us to excel and achieve and grow and change this country and change ourselves. And despite what you see on the nightly news, on movies and TV, and in big media, legacy media, black people achieve a lot in those 60 years. And you know what? Look, that's not to disregard the 250 years that our ancestors worked through to get to those 100 years that our ancestors, my grandparents, my parents and grandparents fought to get to 1965 to get us to right here. We've seen one of the most remarkable community civilization turnarounds and glow up in world history in those 60 years. But they will tell you that we accomplished nothing and all we asked for were handouts. Don't believe those lies. Black women at the top of education, we build businesses, we build communities, we have achievements that have spanned the globe and emulated our culture, our people, our styles, our music, our movies, our books, our education, our sociology. It's everywhere. We did that in 60 years. And the backlash you have right now is to that. But they're not going to win. We are.
Oh my god, liberals are so fucking good. They're always making a big fuss over nothing. It's not like we're going to cancel PBS and no one can watch Sesame Street and there's going to be like some cartoon with some asshole telling us that slavery's fine.
Slavery is as old as time, and it's taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
Take a look, it's in a book. Won't you be my neighbor? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. To slavery was not a big deal.
I swear, the quest to rewrite American history in order to protect white fragility is in full swing with Trump and his allies. Today, a reporter asked him about some of the changes that have been made to water down history at the Smithsonian, and of course, Trump's response, it wasn't about accuracy or education, it was about making sure history is fair, which in MAGA speak usually means scrubbing away anything that makes white Americans uncomfortable. Because apparently, the biggest threat to this country isn't poverty, healthcare costs, or gun violence, it's history books and museum plaques that tell the truth. So let's hear it straight from him. Here's Trump explaining how fair history apparently means watering down the truth and turning museums into comfort zones for white grievance. So here's what's going on. Trump just told reporters he wants history in our museums to be fair and not woke. That's Trump's latest euphemism for stripping out anything that makes white people uncomfortable. But let's pause for a second. Fair history? When anyone says fair, they usually mean whitewashing. Case in point, the White House has ordered an internal review of 8 major Smithsonian museums, including the African American History Museum and the National Museum of American History, to remove divisive narratives and improper ideology and make exhibits more in line with American exceptionalism. This is not about accuracy. It's about comfort. Institutions that preserve the full scope of American history are now being told to sanitize painful truths. And if that weren't enough, the administration may be replacing PBS, a long-standing public broadcasting institution, with PragerU. Yes, PragerU, the conservative video platform that once released a cartoon with Christopher Columbus saying slavery was no big deal and that being a slave is better than being... That's not education, that's propaganda. So here's what we've got. Trump wants museums to tell a comfortable story and wants to seed that same comfort with children via PragerU videos. What's truly dangerous is not an exhibit about slavery, it's flipping the script so that you're told you should feel okay with it. It's not about teaching history, it's about making certain people feel good about it. This is disturbing. It doesn't matter what the culture and society at the time treated as no big deal. The slave owners assaulted their slaves, emotionally, physically, all the time. They knew those things were wrong. They did them out of greed and pure evil. And let's be real, the whole everyone was doing it back then argument is just a lazy way to excuse atrocities. Not everyone was doing it. There were abolitionists. There were enslaved people constantly fighting for freedom. There were communities that rejected slavery entirely. The idea that Columbus or any other colonizer somehow gets a moral pass because it was normal is a dangerous lie. We don't excuse because other murders happened that year. We don't excuse theft because other people were stealing. Wrong is wrong, whether it happened yesterday or 500 years ago. And the truth is, when you start downplaying slavery, you're not just distorting history, you're telling the descendants.
They are going to use AI to impersonate and create opinions of black people. Literally, create narratives that they think black people would have said. Because, of course, they have quite a number of those, the likes of Candace Owens, the likes of so many more other people that be like, oh, you know, slavery was in the past. They're going to use all these tools to romanticize and downplay slavery. They hate the idea of always being reminded that their wicked ancestors did what they did to black people. And they don't want to be accountable at all. They will tell you, you know, the future generations don't have to pay for the sins of their wicked ancestors, even if they are still benefiting from the systems that were set, from the wealth that was collected. They are talking about they felt like slavery was so wrong. And so they decided to end it. No, you did not. You didn't decide. There was rebellion everywhere. The Haitian Revolution. Yeah? All these people had started fighting. Black people fought for this. They want to make it seem like they wanted to grant you freedom. No! That's not the entire story. If you were to tell the story, tell it in its entirety. Tell the world truth. Black people had to fight. Were you talking about that, you know, some states in the South made it easy for slaves to be... Are you kidding me? When some slaves never even knew that actually they had gained freedom, that slavery was ended, was abolished in the South. These people... How can you hide your racism when you want to restore the historical figures of the Confederate soldiers that were busy, our people? And then you want to make a narrative that this is how black people feel right now. Are you sure? Because you are trying to avoid the conversation of reparations? Black people don't deserve reparations in your eyes. Because I guess you're like, everybody is equal now. What are you talking about that black people, slaves were treated, you know, they had rights? My God. Do you know how disgusting that is? Every other group received reparations. The Holocaust is recognized. The worst Holocaust that have ever happened in the entirety of human history don't get recognized, which is what happened to black people, not black Americans alone. I hate to insert myself in the conversation. I come from Africa, but have you ever heard of Zimbabwe and the Holocaust that happened there? What about the 20+ million people in Congo? Come on now. And let me tell you, this is personal to me because I've ever talked to a white person and they were like, yeah, that was the system that was happening at the time. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Should the Jews normalize what happened to them? They are not allowed to normalize that. To date, anti-Semitism is a thing. When it comes to black people holding you accountable for your sins and for the sins of your ancestors, meanwhile you hold black people accountable for the sins of not only them, but even the sins of their parents. Yeah? Everybody else received reparations. When black people enter into the chat and they're like, we need reparations, oh no. For the towns that you destroyed, tell the history in its entirety, yeah? Tell your children that the wealth that you're seated on and everything that you have, all of it, is as a result of exploitation. Not just exploitation because that was beyond exploitation. Savagery. And you call black people savages? This one palm-colored man that had the nerves of telling me, oh, Africans were very violent and they were busy, fighting. The tribes were busy fighting. You kidding me? Why did you flee from UK, from Britain to go to Australia and hunt the Aboriginals as a sport? Why did you flee if everything was all good? Oh, the Native Americans were busy fighting each other, We came, we were settlers, and we actually built the country. You kidding me? You ran away. You were savages. You were the outcasts. They were literally taking you out. You were the weaklings among the weaklings. Why do you, these people literally want to whitewash the history so bad. Everybody is wrong. Yeah? If you have the right narrative of holding them accountable, they will say you are believing propaganda, you are a sellout, someone is trying to brainwash you. Because in their mindset, you are not smart enough to know. We haven't even talked about the genocides that not only happened in America, in the Caribbeans. Oh my God, how can I forget my brothers, my beloveds from the Caribbeans? How? Have we talked about the genocide? In fact, not the genocide, the Holocaust that happened in Zimbabwe, back then Rhodesia? Should we talk about South Africa? What about Kenya here, my neighbors, that had another upset going on? This man is up to no good. And this is what he wants. He's been scrapping off slowly by slowly. This is why I don't like diaspora wars, because it takes us off the things we need to be paying attention to. I am busy learning about American history and what happened to the black Americans. And I'm busy learning about what happened to the Caribbean brothers and sisters, right? And I'm busy learning about what happened to the South Africans. And this man is taking away those things and replacing it with his version of the story. It has always been their version of the story. History, his story. Yeah? Oh my God, you guys, I could never be disgusted more than I was just watching this. And this passion that you see is coming from the right place. I'm not trying to hold you accountable for the sins of your ancestors, but can you admit they did this? Can you correct the systems? Why are you trying to wash it and romanticize it and make it sound more relatable, more beautiful, okay? Yeah? Let me know what you think. Let's stop fighting against each other and fight the real enemies, because they are seated in the White House right now. Put your thoughts in the comment section, because from me for today, that's it. I do love all of you and I appreciate all the speakers and contributors in the segment. I'll see you in another amazing video. Just do me a favor, like it, share it to spread awareness. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And again, may God protect you, preserve you, watch over you, and heal you, because we have a lot of healing to do, especially if we have to deal with people that mock our traumas every day in front of us, man. Anyway, that is why I remember the scripture that how can we sing, a song of praise in the land of captivity, when they are still tormenting you and they want you to be celebrating. Celebrating what? When they are mocking? That, yay! May God protect you in that belly of the beast. May God protect you from the Caribbeans. May God preserve us, because I know we are God's amazing human beings and God's people. I'll see you in another amazing video. I love all of you. Stay safe and blessed.